trade it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show. You must have got me early. You got a front row seat. How are you? They pressed this for him special. He normally doesn't even wear a tie to work, you know. How are you? Nice to see you. God, I wish I had my glasses on. You all look so good. The opening when your heart beats like a drum. The closing when the audience don't empty chairs. There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing. Everything the traffic will allow. Nowhere can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing an extra bow. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Even with a turkey that you know will fold, you may be stranded out in the cold. Still I wouldn't trade it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show. Let's go on with the show. Good evening and welcome. Theater is a wonderful profession. I was in it for a while. In New York, every year the theater community puts on a gala event called the Night of 100 Stars. And it's a fundraising, it's an event for charity, and there are 100 great famous actors and singers and musicians who come together to put on this big event. Well, tonight we are doing our own version of the 100 Stars. And the 100 Stars are you, who have come tonight to help support the good work of the Jesuits, so thank you. One of the questions I was asked this week was, what is the dress code for an event like this? You know, what should we wear? And, you know, I pretty much said anybody who pays $100 a ticket can wear anything he wants. It got me thinking, of course, about what I should wear, and so this is the first of several outfits. Laughing at my clothes. People have sometimes asked me, you know, I'm known for wearing Nigerian cloth, and people have sometimes asked me, why? You know, why are you always wearing Nigerian cloth? And I have to tell you, I have been around the world. I have visited many places. I have mixed with royalty and savages and the common man. And I want to tell you that clothes make the man. Naked people seldom have any influence in society. No, I had been here for about a year, and it occurred to me that maybe the people who lived here for several thousand years had learned something about how to dress, you know. So I tried it, and it's wonderful. The cloth is interesting, and it's not expensive, and it's cool. And when you've got a figure like mine, it's a gift from the gods. It's true. There has always been more of me to love than might be good. When I started out in professional theater, that was something I had to deal with. Because I'm a tenor, normally, you know, high voice. But tenors are lovers and heroes and princes. Thank you. Yeah. This is the body of a villain, an uncle, a father, and those tend to be basses and baritones. So I learned very quickly, if I was going to work in theater, I had better develop a lower voice, you know. My first professional job in New York was singing for the Light Opera of Manhattan, Gilbert and Sullivan, and in the first act I was a first tenor pirate. And in the second act I was a policeman, and I sang second bass. They thought I was a good bargain. So over the years I have been able to go high and go low, and since part of tonight is about showing off, I'm going to show off now and sing low. This is from, it's probably one of the best known bass song from anything in American musical theater. black folk all work on the Mississippi. Black folk all work while the white folk play. Hauling them bales from the dawn to sunset, get no rest till the judgment day. Don't look up and don't look down. You don't ask make the white horse frown. Bend your knees and bow your head and lift them bales until you're dead. Let me go away from the Mississippi. Let me go away from the white man boys. Show me that stream or the river Jordan. That's the one stream that belongs to the cross. Old Man River, that old Man River, he don't say nothing. You must know something. You just keep rolling. You keep on rolling along. We don't plant potatoes, don't plant cotton, and what plants on and soon forgotten. But old Man River, he just keep rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Lift that forward, you toast that beer, you get a little drunk and your lands in jail. I get weary and sick of trying, as tired of living and scared of dying. But old Man River, he just keep rolling
I hide my water back here. For those of you with suspicious minds, it really is water. Let me ask a technical question, and so that I can see the answer, I'm going to put on these spectacles. Okay? This house, oh my goodness, this house has speakers built in different places. And usually I'm used to hearing the sound coming behind me. It's difficult for me to judge from here what the balance is between the tape and the Sheehan. We doing all right? You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right. There may be times when I ask them to up the sound a little, and that's so I can hear it. Because if you think it's loud out there, you should hear it from in here. Okay. Nico, we're going to do the Largo. I'm going to do that one, okay? Some people ask me, Father, how
And one of my standard responses is, I am busier than God.
Well, I mean, if we believe what we read in the scriptures, God gets one day off a week. I haven't figured out how to do that. Besides, he has all of these angels who go around and run errands for him. I can't even find a driver. Somebody asked me this week, how's the concert going and what are you doing? And I said quite truthfully, I envy Pavarotti. Not his voice, well, a little bit for his voice. Not for his money, not for his fame. What I envy him the most is his staff. He has people who run around to do things for him. Well, this is a song, middle range. That was a bass song, and I'm going to sing tenor things later. This is a baritone aria. It's in the middle. And this is about a guy who is perhaps even busier than I am. His name is Figaro, and he's a barber. And he lives in Seville, so they wrote an opera about him and called it The Barber of, isn't that clever? Yeah. And he does everything in Seville. He does haircuts, but he does love notes, and he does messages, and he does running around. And you can tell from the music that Figaro is a very busy person. listening to it because you have no idea how much fun it is to sing. In a second, we are going to go from the ridiculous to the sublime, and I am going to bring out my accompanist for the evening, Maria Lutzbina, who is just an amazing pianist. The relationship between a singer and the pianist is a very strange one. It's a duet, it's an accompaniment, it's a support, it's a teaching, it's all sorts of things. And it's difficult to introduce a pianist, an accompanist, a musician. And so rather than trying to do a long introduction, and you have her particulars in your book, I thought I'd sing a song. Now, I didn't write the words to the song. Somebody else wrote the words, so you have to give me a little leeway. But the basic idea is there. I'm the only windmill you know run by water. I'm not showing off. And the program where it says, you know, Father John changes his mind in the middle of the show, I just did. When I announced that I was going to become a priest, a number of my friends didn't believe it. No, they didn't. They thought it was a joke, and some of them thought it was in bad taste. After a while, when I stayed in, they came around, although I did have one friend. He had bet another friend of his that I wouldn't last. He didn't pay off until after the ordination. You know, he waited 12 years just to be sure. It wasn't that big a bet, I gotta tell you, but at one point, Some friends of mine were asking me, John, why did you give up theater? And before I could say anything, another friend of mine jumped in and said, John hasn't given it up. He just moved to another branch. And to a certain extent, that's true. I mean, Jesus Christ was a great storyteller, and I love to tell stories. And theater is nothing more than the telling of stories. And many great musical pieces are story pieces. They've got a plot to them. And this is one of them. This is a great one for a singer because you get to be four different voices. You get to be the narrator, you get to be the father and the son and the Earl King. It's a German poem, right? And it's in German. So for those of you who don't speak German, here's what's going to happen. This is instead of subtitles, right? Father is riding through the forest late one night. He's on a horse and he's got his son clasped in his arms in front of him. And he's asking the son, why are you so worried? Why are you so scared? And the son says, Father, don't you see the Earl King standing over there calling to me? The father says, nonsense, my boy. That's just a beam of moonlight coming through the trees. Then you hear the voice of the Earl King saying, come with me, my boy. And my mother is going to bake special things for you, and you're going to get great golden toys to play with. And the son is getting very frightened by this. He says, Father, don't you hear what the Earl King is saying? That he's going to take me away to play with his daughter. And the father says, nonsense. That's just the sound of the wind flashing through the trees. And this conversation goes back and forth. And the son gets very, very frightened because he's heard the Earl King say, I want you to come with me, and I love you. And if you don't come, then I will take you by force. And the father gets scared too, and he rides fast to the inn through the woods. And when he gets to the inn with his son in his arms, his son is dead.
So spät, dort Nacht kommt zu mir.
putting songs together, you try to pick some stuff, at least I do, that nobody's ever heard, so that they're not comparing you with other people. You know, you like to give them surprises and new stuff. But on the other hand, you also like to put in some stuff that people can recognize. Oh, I know that, you know. Well, this is a song that was around for many, many years. And people who liked classical music had heard it, but it hadn't been very widely popular. And then some guy named Pavarutu, something like that. Anyway, he started singing, and now everybody knows this song. So since you know it, I'm going to sing it. Yeah, that's the one. Called A Touch of Elegance, and we have tried to follow that in all of our particulars. Beautiful surroundings, lovely people, and this is a Bosendorfer. Now, a Bosendorfer is, in the world of pianos, well, I don't know, like a Rolls Royce in the world of cars, only a little bit more so. There are many more people who have Rolls Royces than have Bosendorfers. This is a Bosendorfer. And it seemed a shame to have the only thing it would do in the course of an evening be accompany me. And so now Maria is going to show off what she and it can do together. Hoi-ya! Pardon my back. Pardon my front. For those of you who do not recognize it, it is by Beethoven and has something to do with moonlight. See, we try to see you get your money's worth. She played with all 10 fingers and everything. Bosendorfers make very heavy pianos. The relationship between the singer and an accompanist is a strange one. I said that before, didn't I? Yeah, it's true, even afterward. And it has been the subject of many songs and stories and plays and movies. And, you know, people constantly fall in love with musicians. Well, I mean, not with me, but with other musicians. And in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, I mean, I grew up with the Peanuts kids, right? They made a musical of it called You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And Lucy is, of course, in love with Schroeder, the pianist, you know. Well, feeling that we should try to promote sexual equality whenever we can, we're going to indulge in a little role reversal, and she's going to be Schroeder, and I'm sort of Lucy.
Something, Maria, I think the way you play the piano is nice. You know something else, it's always been my dream that I'd marry a girl who plays the piano. Something nice like April showers. I'm sure you could play something nice like April showers. Or even Frere Beethoven's nice too. Just imagine, what would it be if someday you and I should get married? Wouldn't you like that if someday we two should be married? My Aunt Minnie was right. Never try to talk marriage to a musician. Not all songs are... You don't have to applaud, it's optional, you know. There are a couple of English composers named Flanders and Swan, and they write some of the silliest stuff around, and I love them to death. For those of you who have not been to a zoo in a while, or who have not trekked out in the jungle to observe the creatures in their native habitats, this is a song about a sloth. Think about that for a minute. Here are two grown men who are making a living writing a song about a sloth. Creature hangs upside down in the jungle, has 3 toes on either hand. A sloth. It's a song about a sloth. You ready? Or sloth am I live a life of ease, contented not to do or die, but idle as I please. I have 3 toes on either foot, or half a dozen both, with leaves and fruits and shoots to eat. How sweet to be a sloth. The world is such a cheerful place when viewed from upside down. It makes a rise of every every flaw, a smile on every frown. I watch the fleeting fly, a butterfly on road, and think of all the things I tried if I were not slow. I could climb the very highest Himalayas, be among the greatest ever tennis players, learn to win at chess or marry a princess, or then be an eminent professor. I could be a millionaire, play the clarinet, travel anywhere, learn to catch a crook, win a war and write a book about it. I could paint a Mona Lisa, I could be another Caesar, write an oratorio that is sublime. The doors not shut on my genius, but I just don't have the time. For days and days among the trees, I sit and dream and doze, just swaying gently in the breeze, suspended by my toes, while eager beavers overhead rush through the undergrowth. I watch the clouds beneath my feet, how sweet to be a snow. I watch the clouds beneath my feet, how sweet to be a slow. Stay there. You don't have to do anything for this one, but stay there. I said earlier that a lot of songs are story songs. And this is a story song that I've told a lot of times. So if you've heard it, don't give away the ending. I spent 2.5 years as cantorial soloist in a Jewish temple. It was a wonderful time. And the Jewish community in the city where I was working was very welcoming and open. Of course, I looked more Jewish than the rabbi did, so that helped. But I learned a lot of stories and tales, and this is actually a Yiddish tale. Now there will be a couple of words that you may not know as I go by, but I'll explain them to you when we get to them. The only word that you really need to know is the word miskite. Now, miskite means ugly. Well, that's not great. It means funny looking. Miskite means miskite, miskite. Once upon a time there was a miskite, miskite. Looking in the mirror he would say, what an awful shock. I got a face that would stop a clock. Miskite, miskite, such a pity on him. He's a miskite, miskite. God up in his heaven left him out on a shaking limb. He put a miskite on him. Well, he got a little bigger, and off he went to school. And soon in the cheder, means Hebrew school, he sat beside a little girl. And when he asked her name, she replied, I'm pale. He ran to the Tzeder, means grandfather, and said in that screechy voice of his, you told me I was the homeliest. Well, Gramps, you're wrong. Pale is. Miskite, miskite, never did I saw a bigger miskite, miskite, everywhere a flaw, and maybe that is the reason why I'm gonna love her until I die. Miskite, miskite, isn't it a pleasure? She's a miskite, miskite, she's the one I'll treasure, for I thought there could never be a bigger miskite than me. Well, they grew up, huh? Even miskites grow up. And soon they were married, and in a year she turned and smiled. I'm afraid I am going to have a child. 9 months she carried. worrying how this child would look, and all the relatives worry too. But what a turn fate took. Gorgeous, gorgeous. They produced a baby that was gorgeous, gorgeous. Crowding round the cradle, all the relatives odd and ooh. She ought to pose for a baby food. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Would I tell a lie? She's simply gorgeous, gorgeous. Who'd have ever thought that we would see such a flawless gem out of to me skate like them? Now, the story has a moral, huh? All my stories have a moral. Moral, moral. Yes, indeed, the story has a moral, moral. Though you may be homely, it is nevertheless quite true. There may be beautiful things in you. Me-skite, listen to the fable of the me-skite. Anyone responsible for loveliness, large or small, is not a me-skite at all. Or you can sit there if you want, but that's right. This was kind of a last-minute thing that rose up and bit me. I was talking before about my suit and wearing Nigerian cloth. And I am one of those people who believes that there's a tremendous amount of wonderful stuff in Nigeria. And there's a lot of conversation going on now about May 29th in the future and what's going to happen in Nigeria. And I personally, personal opinion, think that until Nigeria decides to celebrate her own treasures, her own glories, her own beauties and strengths of character and values, we're going to have problems. Well, I was reading Mark Twain the other day, one of my favorite people, and this jumped up and spit me in the eye. And I'm going to share it with you now. It has to do with what I just talked about, but that bit of advice, I think, applies to individuals as well as countries. You've got to be who you are. You've got to pick your own strengths and your own treasures and celebrate them and not worry about trying to be 6 other people or countries. So this is from a speech that Mark Twain gave someplace. You know, there is a familiar old maxim that assures us that man is the noblest work of God. Now, who found that out? Last year I celebrated my 70th escape from the gallows. I am approaching the threshold of age. Now, when you get to be 70, you're supposed to be able to sit up there on that 7-tiered summit and tell the rest of the world how to get up there. They all do it, you know. All these garrulous old men. They explain the process and they dwell on the particulars with senile rapture. Well, I've been anxious to explain my system for some time. And now I have achieved the right. I think I've achieved my 70 years in the usual way, by sticking strictly to a scheme of life that would kill anybody else. Now, I have a few simple rules that I try to follow. I make it a point never to smoke more than 1 cigar at a time. I have no other rules. Now, I have never smoked cheap cigars. I've never smoked cigars with light belts either. They were a little too expensive for me. But I smoked reasonably cheap cigars. 60 years ago, they cost me $4 a barrel. But my taste has improved now. Now I pay $7. 6 or 7? 7, I think. Well, 7. But that includes the barrel. Now, I've never taken any exercise except sleeping and resting. And I don't ever intend to take any. I've never seen any benefit in being tired. As for diet, I have tried to be very strict about sticking to things that don't agree with me, until one or the other of us got the
frolicking with mince pie after midnight. Until then, I had never believed it was loaded. But the point I want to make is, you cannot reach old age by another man's road. My habits protect my life. They probably assassinate you. Make up your own rules and then stick to them. And that's not as easy as it sounds. For there will always be somebody trying to reform you, trying to take all the pleasure out of everything you do and replace it with dreariness. But don't let them. If you can't make 70 by a comfortable road, don't go. Now you've got to, it's probably a good idea to obey rules when you're young. And so you'll have the strength to break them when you're older. But you cannot forget, experience is the best way to find out something. A fellow who takes a hold of a bull by the tail is getting 60 or 70 times the information as the fellow who stands over there and watches. Anyone who starts in to carry a cat home by the tail is getting knowledge that is always going to be useful, isn't ever likely to grow dim or doubtful. Chances are he's never going to try to do it again. But if he does, let him. If he wants to carry the cat that way, let him. It isn't always easy to be eccentric. Well, my legs are getting tired, and you're getting tired. So it's probably time for an interval. Now this is not the food interval. This is a drink interval, and it's an interval. When we first started talking about this, Mrs. Kirkland had said, well, we'll have a nice interval. We'll have food and drink. And I said, no, don't serve food during the interval. First of all, the audience will take too long. We'll never get the second act started. Secondly, they'll be so full of food, they'll be a very difficult audience to sing to. But most important, if you do that, I won't get any. So the food part is afterwards. But this will be a chance for you to get up and stretch and walk around and catch your breath. If we're a small group, and I know most of the people who are here. If you don't, you should introduce yourselves, because you're a bunch of interesting people. You really are. I'm sitting looking here and saying, boy, I know some great folks. I really do. And the ones I don't know, I'd like to meet you afterwards. So this will be the last song before the interval. This is a request. Somebody came up to me and said that this was a gentleman who bought the first tickets to this concert. I have been going around asking people, do you think this thing is a good idea? Think anybody would come? I said, yes. This guy said, I'll buy the first tickets. And he did. He bought 1, 2, and 3, I think, right? 1, 2, and 3. So later on he came to me and said, since I bought the first 3 tickets, you think maybe I could make a request? Sure, why not? So he asked for a song, and it's this song. Now, I probably would have honored his request, but I was going to sing it anyway. This is one of those wonderful songs where the music is great and the words are even better than the music. I did the show that this came from 3 different times. We did one production. This is from Man of La Mancha, by the way, the song I'm going to sing. We did one production where the director was wonderful, and it was a summer theater company, and he told the man who was playing Don Quixote he did not want him to sing this song. He wanted him to perform it, not as Cervantes, the young man who was in prison, but as old Don Quixote holding out to his spear. Well, the actor had a fit, because he wanted to sing the song. The director said, no, I want you to act the song. People who knew the song, absolutely, were crying. It was so beautiful. And at one point, I was seriously thinking of trying to do that. And I realized I wasn't good enough to get away with it, so I'm just going to sing it. See, I fooled her. She was so busy listening, she said, oh, yeah, we got to work. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe,
to right the unrightable wrong, to love your unchaste from afar, to strive when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest to follow the star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march in the hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will like peace find calm when I lay to my rest. And the world will be better for this, than one man scorned and covered with scars, still strong with his last